Hello everyone, welcome. My name's Charlie, and today we're returning to the island of Quinoa for our 9th month in Animal Crossing New Horizons. As always, I had a couple goals I wanted to complete in this episode, including finishing a build for Bill, reaching a 5-star island rating, and getting rid of Stitches, and as part of that, completing our roster of dreamies on the island. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Now at the end of last month, the final thing I did was senselessly buy a ridiculous amount of turnips, and I really wanted to make a profit, so of course, the first thing I did was check the prices, and already, it was not looking good. To distract from my ongoing financial insecurity, I decided to continue chipping away at my massive flower problem, getting rid of ones I don't need, and working on our Pride flower rainbow around Town Hall. And as I was doing this, I spotted Stitches eating a sandwich and just staring at a wall. Same, buddy. Same. After a long morning of work, I went to the Roost for a coffee break and was awarded our final Come Home to Roost Nook Mile stamp. 50 whole cups of coffee. That's definitely super healthy. As the clock struck 12, I scurried to Nook's Cranny again to check on turnip prices, which, lucky me, had gone down to 77 bells. If it weren't for that stupid turnip Nook Mile quest, you best believe I would never invest in the stock market again. It never goes well for me. The next morning, I again rushed to Nook's to check on my investment, which I'm very displeased to say dropped even more to 73 bells per turnip. I really just don't know what I'm doing wrong. After a quick stretching session to, loosen up the muscles, the turnip prices, I headed back to Timmy and Tommy hoping for good news, but no. 69 bells and dropping. But despite my impending bankruptcy, the work had to continue, so I started working on one of our goals for this month, that being Bill's build. The building, eh? You get it? Since Bill is a jock, I wanted to make him a sports-themed build, and I had an idea I was actually super excited about. I started off placing some dirt paths and blue fences, but quickly realized that the area I cleared out was still too small and that I'd have to move all my hybrid flowers before I could start building. I mean, if you can guess what sport this mess is supposed to be, let me know in the comments. I would be impressed. Even though I'd already completed all the Come Home to Roost stamps, I decided to grab a cup of coffee as a reward for myself. Old habits die hard, but I'm glad I did because as I was leaving, Brewster gave me a Brewstoid, and it's now my favorite thing in the game. For the rest of the day, I just sat and hung out with my new best friend. What a funny little guy. This wouldn't change the fact, though, that my turnip investment was still doing horribly. Are you ready for some bad news? Because I certainly am. 65 bells. And later that afternoon, 61. Just great. I love turnips. I was praying for a spike in the numbers, but I figured we needed some statistical analysis, some cold, hard facts to evaluate our investment. So I dressed up as my favorite founding father to, manifest those Benjamins, and then plugged our prices into Turnip Calculator. And would you look at that? There's literally a 0% chance the price goes up. Begrudgingly, I decided to cut my losses and sold my turnips for a disappointing amount of bells. I hate the stock market. After a quick jump scare from Brewstoid the next morning, I decided to take it easy and attend a KK concert, which was actually a super fun time. Look at me, just clapping along to KK Mambo. No pain behind those eyes. With my spirits lifted, I moved past our turnip fiasco, and it was a good thing too, because Reese and Cyrus asked me to shoot their anniversary photos. I was actually really proud of my decorations. I guess all my time as a Happy Home Paradise planner was paying off. But when it came to actually taking the picture, well, I had other ideas. Reese seemed to be pretty happy with it though, and said that I managed to capture all of their love and joy in one photo, and I couldn't agree more. It just cracks me up so much, the idea that they hire a photographer and some kid in a cape and paper crown shows up, decorates beautifully, and then takes one photo and it's just their face. Gave him the old Mike Wazowski treatment. I'm so good at this. After that amazing photo shoot, I was feeling really confident in my aesthetic talent and artistic vision, and I wanted to impart that onto the island with a big custom path design overhaul. And this new path I found looked a lot more natural and integrated into the grass really well, especially in Marshall's coffee shop. Unfortunately, a lot of the paths needed to be reworked though. They looked a bit strange if they were too wide, so I spent the rest of the evening making the paths a little slimmer and more winding. The great thing about this path design though is that there's a ton of different variations, which prevent that weird visual effect where you start seeing repeated patterns, so I also spent time changing paths around to just keep things looking organic. And while we were on the path placing grind, I decided to set the foundational paths for Sherb's house and the beach area next to it for the future. After a thoroughly disappointing campsite villager the next morning, I found Stitches once again just facing a wall, but sleeping this time. This guy is way too comfortable here and also just straight up useless, I'm sorry to say. The villager woes only continued with more gifting failures from Doc, but it was a work in progress, so I changed gears and continued my flower project around Town Hall. I still needed to breed a bunch of blue flowers, but as I was running around the island looking for stuff to pick up, I randomly found a blue hyacinth hiding behind a tree, which was a very welcome surprise. There still were a bunch of spots to fill, so I'd have to wait on my hybrids to breed up, but the area was really coming together. Even after all this work though, Stitches was still proving to be a pain in my patookus. After barging in on his conversation with Doc, he asked where I wanted to eat, and I said the Arctic, where I wish he would go. The happiness I gained thinking about Stitches on an iceberg far, far away was only elevated when I found a watermelon hat at the Able Sisters. Finally! It has been so long, the drought is over. For those who don't know, I've made it a goal to collect every single fruit-themed hat. I currently have the pineapple, the strawberry, the kiwi, and the grape ones, but this one was new, and the first one we've gotten in a while. I felt fantastic walking out of that changing room with a melon on my head, but my mood would only improve because after checking in with Isabel, I found that Quinoa had reached 5-star status. This roiled throne of bugs, this hive of majesty. What is this? This infested plot, this earth, this terrarium, this Quinoa. Though the feedback on the island was weird, and Loki kind of felt like an insult. Like, what about Quinoa as an infested plot? Is it my gyroid lair? Does Doc have fleas again or something? I mean, anywho, the 5-star rating was awesome news because as a reward, Isabel gave me the recipe for a golden watering can. One little celebration dance later, and I crafted that baby up, bringing us one step closer to all gold tools. And not only that, but with the golden watering can, I would be able to water my black roses to get golden ones. Very exciting, I must say. With Quinoa coming along so nicely, I decided to spruce up the area around my house, adding a bunch of fences and also this little picnic for the true heroes of this island. My cucumber horse and eggplant cow. Great job, guys. Keep up the good work. They also do not have names yet, so if you have ideas, leave them in the comments. Whichever one has the most likes, we'll just name them that. On the morning of day 9, the first thing I did was stumble upon Daisy May pitter-pattering on the beach, and you're probably thinking, Charlie, don't be an idiot. Please don't do that. Last time your turnips sold at a loss, and the time before that they rotted. Please don't buy more turnips. And you know what? You're probably right, but I do not learn, so I bought almost 1,000 turnips at 94 bells a piece. Yay me! And plus, look, I got my first golden rose, which has to be an omen of like good fortune and wealth or something, right? With about 100,000 bells worth of root vegetables in my back pocket, I returned to Bill's build. And if you guessed earlier that it was a baseball diamond based on that blob of dirt that I showed, you are very astute and I love that about you. I tossed down a couple pillows to look like bases, and just this small addition was really bringing the whole thing together. However, my frivolous actions that day had resigned us again to the fate of monitoring turnip prices, and when I checked them the next morning, I saw that they'd gone from 94 bells to 75, which, according to my calculations, is really quite devastating. Completely unfazed, I continued on with the day's chores, finding yet another golden rose. It's a sign, I tell ya. After opening some packages from the mail, I also spotted something very cool in the campsite. Our first lily of the valley. These little debbies only bloom on 5-star islands, and for some reason the sight of them causes such excitement inside me. Like 8-year-old me is so proud, but also so jealous. And hey, Quinoa is officially a top-tier island now with the flower to prove it. It felt like our luck was only getting better, so I entered Nook's Cranny for the dreaded turnip price check. Miraculously though, the price had increased to 113 bells. My heart literally jumped. Like, what do I do now? Do I sell now or wait to see if it goes higher? I don't know. I decided to go with the second option, hoping for the best, and by noon, the prices had dropped to 103 bells, so not much profit, but hey, at least they didn't rot. I was still slowly working toward my vision of Animal Crossing perfection, which meant getting every single Nook Miles stamp, and one of those stamps was the popular pen pal. That afternoon, I decided enough was enough. I'm getting the third sticker, so I stood there and wrote 30 letters to Fauna, all of which consisted of only ones. After over 10 minutes of button mashing and a very sore thumb, I finally got the sticker. Can you imagine Fauna opening her mailbox tomorrow just absolutely jam-packed with envelopes, and every single letter just has the number 1 on on it. I'm such a good neighbor. Did I abuse the postal service for my own benefit? Yes, I did, but I also single-handedly brought the island to 5-star status and built up a bunch of businesses and amenities, so everybody can just get over it, alright? With that accomplished, I began adding fences to Bill's baseball field and then built little dugouts for both teams, and I honestly think the area feels like a little community field. It's so cute. Later on, while doing some gardening, Poppy came up to me and gave me a changing room. Like, are you trying to say something about my outfit? I feel so targeted. I continued on with my flowers, but Poppy's dumb little gift/insult was really bothering me, so in protest, I put a paper bag on my head. Like, is this what you wanted, Poppy? Are you happy? Something else too is a bunch of people commented on my last video saying that instead of gifting iron wall lamps for portraits, I could wrap up dinosaur fossils and that would work just as well, so I decided to give it a try. And I mean, they were right, if by works just as well means it doesn't work at all because Doc refuses to give me his portrait. Despite all my hard work on the rainbow flower display, the flower situation was starting to grow out of control, and as I was tending to that problem, a balloon present floated my way, carrying one of those rescue CPR training mannequins. Honestly, these just remind me of my cursed Happy Feet build from the Happy Home Paradise Planning DLC. And I mean, while we're on the topic, can we take a moment to appreciate how cursed this scene is? Me wearing a paper bag and holding a slingshot, a mannequin just laying there, and a bucket? Kind of beautiful, honestly. And yet again, we had reached the beautiful day of Sunday, which meant Daisy May was here, which meant more money down the drain. I bought a cheeky 1,000 turnips at 99 bells each, and as you'd expect, when I checked the next day, prices had dropped to 85 bells per turnip. But rather than being upset, I decided to try a new approach, which was simply to not care. I'm just gonna dress up as a sunflower, and my unshakable sunny disposition will pull us through. The turnip prices will be fine. Except that they were very much not fine, because the next day they dropped to 82 bells and then 77 in the afternoon. Like, what kind of scam are you running here, Daisy? Disgruntled and completely defeated, I went on with island decoration. It numbs the pain. And as I was walking by Poppy's flower pop-up shop, I noticed the sign there was for pasta, which was just false advertisement, so I figured a custom store sign was in order. I was going for sort of a chalkboard vibe, and I wanted it to say flowers in cursive, but it turns out that's a lot of letters, and I could only manage to write flowy, so that's just gonna have to do. And after a couple more flowers and leaves and some small designs in the corners, the sign was complete. Get your flowies here. The big one in the middle is not for sale. Turnip prices continued to drop the next day and the day after that, which was not a good sign, but I did get a tambourine from the sky, which made me feel a little better. Were turnip prices trending downwards? Yes. Am I scared? Yeah, very much so. But I had nothing to lose at this point except like 100,000 bells, so I decided screw it. I'm gonna hold on to these turnips and maybe they'll spike in price. Who knows? Well, I know, and they actually did not spike in price. In fact, it kept dropping to 60 bells, at which point I just sold them all. Utterly defeated once again by the dumb stock market. I had to win at something, and I noticed we only had a handful of sea creatures left to get, which were all pretty attainable, so I made it a goal that day to catch a lobster, and after a bit of searching, I actually got it. Lobjective complete. Not only that, but I also managed to catch my 10th scallop, which I gave to Pascal, granting me my second You Oughta Know stamp. With those little victories under my belt, our financial failures were already in the rearview mirror, and my stamp collection only continued to grow as I took a Cap'n tour, which turned out to be our 50th one. This rounded off the 5th and final Set Sail for Adventure stamp, and it's a good thing too, because I spent like 50,000 Nook miles on that. Good grief. And I'm not sure if it was the game apologizing or what, but my streak of successes was really starting to grow, because after completing another stretching session, I learned that it was actually my last one ever. 50 frickin' sessions later, and look at me. Wow, so flexible. Day 22 was also a big day because it was surprisingly my first ever bug off, and I came ready in the full watermelon fit. And let me tell you, I was a bug catching menace. On my first try, I caught 12 critters and redeemed my points for a butterfly backpack. And you know me, I was gonna be catching bugs until I got every single bug off item. I was pulling in some pretty big numbers, at one point catching 18 bugs in a single round, and over 2 hours later, I managed to catch over 300 bugs, redeeming all the trophies. I am the bug lord. It was exhausting, but finishing off the day with every piece of bug off merch was a definite win in my books. Now, we'd had a couple campsite villagers this month that had been pretty disappointing, like nothing remarkable, so I wasn't expecting much when I saw that we had a visitor. What I didn't realize was that this campsite villager would single-handedly change the course of Quinoa history. I am gonna lose my mind. If Diana shows up at another island or gets in my campsite with her little donut hands again. Okay, for some context, in pretty much every single villager hunt I've ever done, I found Diana. It's like a curse at this point, but a good curse. I was just so surprised to see an actually good villager at the campsite. Okay, I want Diana so bad. If she says she wants to replace Fauna, I'll let her. I'll let her replace Fauna because at this point, it's like destiny. Diana refused to move at first. Alas, no. But I persisted, playing her stupid little card game and winning. When she returned from resident services, though, they suggest Bill! And yeah, that was not gonna happen. So I did what any sane person would do and restarted the game. Yeah, take that, Rossetti. Shove that up your butt. What? I don't know. I logged back in and tried again, but this time... Poppy! And the next. No! But I kept trying. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Until... Oh! Goodbye, Fauna. I'm totally okay with that. Go right ahead. Ooh. Oh my god. Get ready, Charlie. This deer is about to be your neighbor. I was thrilled to have Diana on Quinoa, but when I walked through the library and saw Fauna packing up her things, it honestly made me sad to see her go. She was such a great addition to Quinoa, and I love the library build. Ooh, that was so cinematic. Okay, bye, Fauna. Now, day 25 was an exciting day because not only did I finally manage to shake my 100th tree item, getting me the final stamp for Shady Shakedown, but Diana had also moved in. It honestly felt a little surreal to finally have her on the island, and I still miss Fauna a lot, don't get me wrong, but we're shaking things up. Maybe this will be a new chapter for Quinoa. While digging up some gyroids near Bill's baseball diamond, I had a bit of a brain blast, and I was so excited about this idea. I wanted to use all my extra gyroids to place around the baseball diamond. I put some gyroids on first, second, and third base, and even got a shortstop there. We're not playing around. Honestly, it looked so cute. You got the little guys on base in the dugouts, even a little umpire in the corner. I just needed to collect a couple more for the pitcher and such, but I was super into this idea. And I mean, Bill checked it out the next day, and he also seemed to be liking it too, which was very nice to see. Diana was also finally out and about as well, but despite all these happy villagers, there was one that was really starting to get on my nerves. This entire time, I've been giving Doc gifts, painstakingly wrapped and thoughtfully delivered, but it's so painful to keep receiving random sweaters and stuff. On this fateful day, though, I gave Doc his daily fossil, but instead of his portrait or even a jacket or whatever, he gave me a pacifier. I feel so mocked. Am I a baby to you? All I want is a freaking photo of you, and instead you're bullying me. And speaking of getting portraits, with Diana now on the island, the grind for her portrait had just begun. Although we were just starting to raise friendship and she just gave me more useless clothing items, at least she didn't mock me. In fact, when I told her I chose my clothes based on style, she said that it really affected how people perceived me. I bet people see you as someone who's really cool and in tune with trends. I bet everyone wants to be like you. Oh yeah, that's me. CharlesBarles, fashion icon, rainbow worm, and the envy of all. Obviously, adding Diana to Quinoa was huge, and I definitely didn't see it coming, but there was still another dreamie we had to get on the island, and that was Melba. In my latest dreamie hunt, I let you guys choose our final villager on Quinoa, but we weren't able to find her. Fortunately, I am as financially irresponsible in real life as I am in Animal Crossing, so I decided to buy $300 worth of amiibo cards, open them up on stream, and at long last, we got Melba, which meant she was waiting at our campsite. However, this was my first amiibo card rodeo, and I realized that she wasn't going to move onto the island until we scanned her for 3 days total, so the following day, I headed straight to the ABD and scanned her amiibo card, but she still needed another day of persuading. And finally, on our very last day of the month, Melba headed to resident services to ask about moving in. And obviously the island was full, so I told her to get rid of Stitches. He was already on his way out. And a little while later, so anyway, your instinct was right. I asked, and Stitches really was planning to move. That's crazy. That's definitely not me ignoring him and, you know, ostracizing him from the community, but just like that, our entire villager roster was finally complete. I was so excited to have Melba on the island along with all of our other dreamies. And I mean, that is one of our biggest long-term goals finished. Well, that is all I have for today, but we got a ton of stuff done in our 9th month here on Quinoa. We worked on villager builds, failed terribly at the stock market, got rid of Stitches, reached a 5-star island rating, and finally got Melba on our island. Anyway, I really hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, feel free to leave a like or subscribe to the channel. I would absolutely love to have you here. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Bye!